I guess there are a few things we would like to look at. Um, Perhaps we should look at Japan first. You see, round about 1965, Japan began to push its labor-intensive industries to the four little dragons of Asia. Hong Kong was also involved in this process. As you know, we also had our transistor radio factories and assembly of plastic flowers, etc. Then, after the first oil crisis, Japan allowed its heavy industries, including steelmaking and shipbuilding industries, to be moved to Taiwan and South Korea. That's when Pohang in South Korea grew. That's when Taiwan and South Korea began to build big tankers of 100,000 tons and up to quarter million tons. That showed that Japan was willing to base its economy on knowledge, on innovations. And second example would be Finland. Finland is roughly like Hong Kong. It has, of course, a much, much bigger area, but it has only 5 million people. And in various assessments, in various surveys, Finland often comes up as the most innovative economy, most innovative country in the world. And I think one of the secrets is that it invests a lot on education, so much so that a lot of Japanese experts become very impressed and they go to Finland and to try to find out the secrets. So I guess the first issue to look at is the structure of the economy, or to use this simple concept, value added. How much or what weight of the value added of the economy comes from knowledge? That is perhaps one question to ask. And then I think the second issue is, as an education worker, I would say, the lifelong learning practice. Have we all acquired the kind of mentality that we are really engaged in lifelong learning, so that every day, every week, we spend time to ensure that we do not lag behind? We spend time on reading and so on. And on one hand, on the macro level, we are at least a little bit aware of the various trends of the world. And at the micro level, we would like to ask ourselves whether we can fit in, whether we can remain competitive, whether we can be able to contribute. I think in Hong Kong, we have a number of phenomena that we may like to explore. Hong Kong people work very hard. Hong Kong people tend to, if I may put it very bluntly, they want to collect certificates. That is why we have a lot of students coming to tertiary institutions to do all types of programs. But I often ask them, how much time do you have for reading? And many of them say, not too many hours, but nonetheless, they want to finish their programs on time. So I think this is a very good test. Do we really spend time? Do we really make efforts to enrich ourselves so that we can cope with the challenges of the future? I would also like to ask a few questions, like how much resources should we invest on kindergarten and primary education? Sometimes we, in a policy address and so on, we hear a lot of discussions on R&D expenditure, on investment in development of new technology, development of strategic industries, industries with an edge. I think Hong Kong is one society, one fairly prosperous society, that doesn't invest in terms of the public sector on kindergarten education, and relatively little on primary education. In terms of whole day education for primary school students, in terms of teacher training for kindergarten and primary school teachers, and in terms of class size in kindergartens and primary schools, this is perhaps one good starting point that we may like to ask. Then, of course, we can stretch the whole process to the research capability of the government and so on. we don't have too many think tanks of substantial scale inside and outside the government. So much so that when the chief executive talks about industries with an edge and so on, we discover that all the time the government has been dwelling on frameworks without engaging in detailed feasibility studies, policy studies, and so on. So I think this is worthwhile survey to look at from kindergarten to government research capability. Are we in that position to claim to be a knowledge economy? I don't think so. I think we have a lot to go. And that is and I think our inadequacies have been reflected in our sense of uneasiness, whether we are competitive or not in the years ahead, whether we can compete with Shanghai in 20 years, whether we can maintain our edge in the Asia-Pacific region, and so on. And I think if we feel confident, if we really believe that we are a knowledge economy and we are fully equipped, we should not have that kind of uneasiness and sense of insecurity. And I think that measure of insecurity is a good indicator that probably we haven't done enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Actually, as a father of 3 young kids, I really echo and concern of your concern about the primary and the kindergarten education. How, Mr. Wang? What do you think? Hong Kong, that doesn't mean you get a young kid.
I'm looking forward to my grandchild, so
Hey,
I'm also concerned.
Your grandchild is facing the kindergarten education soon. Okay, well, do you have any comment? Hong Kong, it is a knowledge society yet?
Actually, thank you, Stephen, for inviting me to this forum, because I've been actually reflecting on this theme of what is Hong Kong today and what will Hong Kong look like in future. Are we a knowledge society or are we not? This year, of course, we all celebrate happily the establishment of the People's Republic of China, the 60th anniversary. I think in the past 60 years, not only China has really progressed in unprecedented speed, but likewise, as a person born in Hong Kong, the 2nd generation of a refugee coming from mainland, I think Hong Kong has demonstrated to the world and to China that we are much more than millions of pairs of hands, we have no natural resources, but we managed to build this place from what the British described 100 years ago as a barren rock into an international city of trade, commerce. And I was also doing a previous job as Secretary for Trade and Industry, and of course I keep reminding people that if you count the highest 10 trading partners in the world, Hong Kong is one of it. So we have come a long way because we are really attach a lot of importance to knowledge. Every parent in Hong Kong, from my father's generation to my sons and daughters' generation, always place education as the most important objective in life. Therefore, you see long queues of people, hoping, waiting at the schools, hoping to find a place in the kindergarten. You get a good kindergarten, you have a better chance of getting a good primary and a secondary and university and so on. So, because there's so many things we can discuss on this topic, I perhaps like to focus really on education.